U.S. currency in coins as opposed to dollar bills for the time desired in the parking lot pay station. Since the pay station is no longer there and they don't give receipts, it has to be by meter.
So can we change to say coin and or paper, so whichever
Let me go ahead and finish reading it, then you can hack it apart. The person shall receive a receipt. This is the line that should be stricken or is requested to be stricken. The person shall receive a receipt, and that receipt shall be displayed on the dash of the vehicle. That should be lined out. The rate for parking in a city-owned or operated short-term parking lot is $1 per hour. I'm sorry, back up. $1 in change per hour from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. 7 days a week, including holidays unless changed by City Council or Mayor. I'd prefer that to be City Council.
6 days a week?
7 days a week.
Oh, okay.
Those are the only changes. Go ahead, you had your hand up first.
So we would need an amendment to that ordinance to strike that line?
It would be, since it's a city ordinance now.
Well, I'd make a motion to amend ordinance number, what's the number?
The chapter number is 8.48. The section number is 8.48.02.
Oh. Well, we'd need an ordinance then for that.
Yes, you would.
So I'd make a motion to ask the city attorney to draft an ordinance addressing striking the identified lines.
We'll let him look at it.
As dictated, yeah. Thank you.
Second.
Any further discussion, Mr. Senator?
Tim, is it possible to make it an and or? Since we did have a pay station, now we have meters. What if in a year or two we go back to pay station? Can we make it either or?
I don't think this.
Well, I hope not, but can we make it either or? Just change the wording, either or, either coins or paper and receipt?
You could make it either or. The other suggestion I would say that you might leave out the dollar because at some point you may want to change the rate. But
is it even necessary to put how much an hour?
Exactly that way it is, or we can do it or whatever.
Is it necessary to have the hourly rate?
No.
Okay.
Well, since we asked the attorney,
Yes, sir.
since we asked the attorney to draft it, why don't we let him use some of his professional judgment and clean it up too?
We'll make Mr. Weaver a copy of this. He can take it with him when he drafts the ordinance.
Excellent.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Brings us to number 5, new business. Discussion of bicycle racks downtown.
Second.
Floor is open. Yes, sir.
Well, it's a good idea, and this area around City Hall is a perfect location for a bicycle rack. And you already have somebody willing to donate the bicycle racks. So I would assume that this would be an administrative function of the mayor to.
Absolutely.
So I would move to ask the mayor to find adequate facility on courthouse lots to install a bicycle rack.
I think we had already put one at the library because the county cleared it.
Right. Yeah.
So I think there's one there now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's been installed or not. But yeah, we can do that. It's a do.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Yes.
Does anybody but me remember the bicycle rack that was at? Oh God, I'm so brain dead tonight.
No, we don't.
The little curve up
Pendergrass Corner.
Pendergrass Corner. Does anybody remember that bicycle rack?
It's probably a city works. We'll check out there and see.
Where the Group W benches was a
If
bicycle
Mr. West
rack?
can make better looking bikes, that's probably really old and beat up.
No, but what I'm saying is that's a good spot. But that was, I got to
not
looking
really.
at, that was a curve, and now it's a squared thing. But that general area hit really nice for downtown.
Well,
So
I
you'd
don't
have
know, because that's
library
all
in the
private
middle
property
and
on the
here.
sidewalks.
Yeah, it's private property.
It's all
Get
private
rid of the
property,
Group
so-
W bench.
Got a motion on the floor.
Okay.
Well,
Any further
are we
discussion on
discussing that?
Yeah.
See, we're discussing.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we want to set a number of how many of these we want out? 2? Those? Okay, 2.
3.
Well, the library already has one.
Library here and in the middle somewhere.
Let's deal with here.
All right, we'll look at it and see what's
You have
best
to
for the
find a
city.
location, the post office, and that's the feds.
I really like the Group W bench area.
Okay, moves us to number 6.
Thank you.
This will be discussion of dedicated account labeling skateboard park. This will be motion to discuss.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Bruce, we want to get up and give us a little handy on that?
That's why he's here.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. Several years ago, we were alerted by Yvonne Klein, who was then the city finance officer, that there was an account that had been in existence for several years, and it was labeled skateboard. And I believe there's $6,600 in it, and no one knows exactly where it came from, how it came to be, but it's a dedicated account that has been floating around on the books. It's not in the general fund. And we would like, Parks would like to help relieve Lonnie of the burden of carrying this over from year to year. We do have some needs for the skateboard park. We'd like to, since we have a parking congestion problem at the playground, we'd like to encourage the skateboarders to use the parking lot below and also improve their access up to the skateboard park. We'd also like to put a fence in between the playground and the skateboard park to prevent some of the smaller kids who are in the playground from wandering over into the skate park bowl, plus act as a little bit of a noise barrier because, as you know, late teens have a little different vernacular than little kids do. And so we have several things that we can do that are ancillary to the skateboard park. And by the way, the skateboard park has just been wildly successful. Every evening there's kids there, and on weekends it's a full house. So I was told that this would take the council to allocate that fund into the general fund and then bring it to Parks.
I'd like to make a motion to move that amount that is currently in the skateboard park. The amount is $6,600, is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Whatever
It's in
amount that is.
It's in that range.
Into the general fund to be used by Parks as described by our Parks Director.
Second.
We've heard discussion this time.
Can we not just move it into the parks account since it's the skateboard and skateboard money and that's part of parks?
When I last talked to Lonnie, he said that it would have to go into
I just
the
want the
general,
paper
and
trail.
then it's just a.
So we would put it into our general fund and then take that allotted amount and put it into the parks
That was
fund?
my understanding.
Earmark it for.
Okay. So fix your thing.
Any further discussion? Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Was there a second?
Yes.
Yes, it was.
Okay, I thought you made the motion.
I did. James seconded.
Thank you.
All in
They look
favor,
a lot
say
alike.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
I think you got it unanimous. Thank you. That moves us on to
Thank
number
you.
7. What, you
Don't
got
go
one
away.
more? Okay. Don't leave.
Going for it.
The review of Parks Green Zone vacation application. Motion to discuss.
So moved. Second.
Floor is open.
Hopefully everyone received my email with these, and I'll pass out hard copies. Parks has developed a new procedure, which is basically cleaning up our old procedures and providing applicants who are requesting a green zone vacation a complete packet. And in this packet, as you'll see, it has
Extra.
a whole list of procedures to go through. It also has notice and forms that they can use to notify the newspaper, notify adjoining landowners, notify the utilities, and it has a copy of the ordinance putting the green zones into the parks inventory, and then lastly it has a brief explanation. And we went to planning with this, and I think it got a good reception. And however, we were told that this was basically our first run parks policy. And parks acts as the first screening level for an applicant that comes in. People come, that's under city code. They'll come to parks, we'll talk about their application, we'll then go to a public hearing, at which time they've made notices to the newspaper, adjoining landowners, et cetera, and then we make our recommendation. Then it goes to planning, and planning looks at it with another eye towards issues with buffer zones, conflicting uses, and then finally, hopefully, we've done both commissions have done their due diligence, and it comes to the council table completely vetted.
Mr. Mitchell. Go ahead.
Bruce, I've slept since I posed a question to you about trying to increase revenue somehow.
Yes.
Always looking for money.
Me too.
Yeah, I know you are. And you said that, and I've totally forgot, but you said there's some lots that you can, but then there might occasionally be some that we could. And would you clarify that?
Yes, I'd be glad to. All across the nation, and of course the state of Arkansas, it's not unusual to have these platted but unopened streets. And in most cases, again, across the nation and the state, it is not the prerogative of the city to sell or trade these properties, because they are, to make it, the short form is it's an easement. And once it's no longer being used for its intended purposes, and it has been requested to be vacated, then it belongs to the landowners on either side. Now, we have an unusual situation that the city of Eureka Springs was deeded 320 acres, and it specifically says that streets and alleys are included in that. And it's the north half of Section 15. And that's basically from my house south, because I live on Section Line Street. And and it's about a third, maybe a little over a quarter, less than a third of the town that we own fee simple title.
Okay. Continuing my question, then how do we get fair value on property? Do we look around and do comparables on lots and then try and figure out a square foot price, and then look at the square foot of the property and then go that route? Or and then who is at what stage in this process, who is coming up with that value that's going to recommend it to council?
That would be council's prerogative as to what the value is. Now, we could assist,
Okay.
but it right now on the books it says $200 per lot or fair market value.
Okay.
And to get a comp on a 15-foot by 60-foot strip of land, unless there's a building on it, it's kind of difficult to do.
Okay.
And it doesn't. These green spaces do not, or right-of-ways, easements, whatever you call them, they do not contribute once they're vacated. I'm told by the city clerk, or by the county clerk, excuse me, that it's normally added to the property, so it's not. There's no direct increase in the tax rolls, unfortunately.
But it still has some value
Oh, absolutely.
that we would like to get money from.
On that third of the
Okay.
town that we own, sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Burkett.
Mr. Levine, is this ordinance here, 1628, is this an existing ordinance?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I think it was 1994.
Okay.
Any further? Mr. Snyder?
I'm so confused now. You're calling them green spaces, but what about the unused alleys that run in the middle of someone's property? Is that considered green space?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Really? Okay, well, like on Angelo's land a couple years ago, he found out all of a sudden
Yeah.
he had an alley right in the middle of his big backyard. That's considered green space.
It's called a green zone.
Okay.
Mr. McClung?
This has always been a pet peeve of mine, actually. And I guess you can say that there's a value to those strips of land, but in most places, they're really not. You know, I mean, yeah, it's brush. It's not. You know, I was opposed to the $200 value. You know, anything that and ministerial that needs to be taken care of as far as dollars and cents, that's one thing. But for it to revert to the property owners where it belongs. Now, there's nothing that prevents the city from retaining easements along there for utilities. They can still deed it over the property owner. But if there's a sewer line or water line, they can still retain that or keep it where, make it where it can, if they need a line there in the future, where they can do that if it's in a location where that's deemed, you know, there's a potential. I don't know. Being involved in the real estate industry here for many years and coming across these things and bringing them to the table many times in years past and sitting on this side of the table as well, the process is too lengthy. Many times it'll show up with when a survey's done on a particular property that's under contract and they find an encroachment, and they're quite common. The process to get that remedied is it's just too time consuming. The constraints are really tough. You talk to any of the title companies and they'll agree that it's an extremely cumbersome process and time consuming, and really not all that necessary. You know, it's always been my opinion that you could get out, look at the streets and see which ones that could be actually have the potential to be made into streets at some point should the need arise, where utilities are, what can be used for walking trails, you know, to tie that in together, and the rest of it ought to just be deeded to the property owners anyway, be done with it. Retain your utility easements because it serves no real purpose to the city. I mean, people aren't, they may go and clean the brush out, they're not going to cut trees anything more than they have to, or anything of that nature. But that's just me.
Mr. Perkins?
I'd like to ask Mr. McClung and Mr. Levine, are you saying you think this process here that Mr. Levine has brought forward is too lengthy, too complicated?
Well, he's been in on them. He knows. It takes months.
Okay,
A lot of them.
Or more.
does this, this isn't something new then, right? This is just brought to us?
No, it is not. This is just a cleaned up version of how we have always done it. On the old application, it had the old name for the newspaper, and there was misspellings and typos. So this was an attempt to expedite things.
Well, that's my point. We're trying to make it a little faster, a little easier for the applicant.
I don't know if we've done that job that well, but hopefully we made it a little more clear.
Yeah, it reads better. Trust me, it does.
Okay. Mr. Levine?
So this is a heads up from Parks that this is going to be your procedure. It doesn't
Yes.
really necessitate any action from council.
I don't see if it was unless Mr. Weaver sees something in here that needs to be addressed.
I don't. I think it's a nice heads up to you, but.
If I could just make one other mention
We're gonna
about
make
the
it, Tom.
process and maybe to address some of Alderman McClung's issues, is that, you know, when we look at these right-of-ways, easements, green spaces, green zones, some of them have the potential to be an access for somebody to get to their property. And that's why we go through this enormous amount of effort to be sure that everybody is notified and everybody knows what's going on, so that we don't stand the chance of cutting anybody's access off. In which case, if we did, then the city, I'm understanding from Mr. Schoen, I'm sure Mr. Weaver would agree, that the city would actually be liable for taking of that access. So it's for all of our benefits to be sure that we're doing the right thing.
Mr. Mitchell.
And an example of that was the last vacating was behind the Cafe Santa Fe. There were some easement issues up there, it turned out.
Yes, there were, and that after a process, all the landowners agreed to an easement, and it worked out quite well. But it took time.
Mr. DeVito.
Well, I'd like to thank Mr. Levine and people involved for presenting a concise and clear roadmap to
Well, thank you.
how we get there.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
No further, we'll move us to number 8, which is 2008 records removal. The clerk asked this to be put on the agenda.
Move to discuss.
Second.
Floor is open. Mr. Burton.
So this is standard operating procedure. Just once they reach a certain age, certain documents are destroyed.
Right, and
Do we
then,
microfiche them or anything, or scan them, or save them digitally, or?
no, actually, Don, Matt, the building superintendent, takes the listed items to Public Works, stores them, and actually this letter goes along with it and describes it, salvaging whatever materials are reusable and putting the rest into the city's recycling program. And by the time he's taken them apart, they're in such fragments that there's no way to, it doesn't mean anything, it's just fragments of data. And then the binders that can be reused get reused.
I mean, do we ever save that data digitally so that it can be?
It's all actually in the computer system.
Okay.
Well, that's not entirely true. Because there are, handwritten notes that aren't necessarily entered, but the bones of the data are in the computer
Okay.
system.
I'm just curious.
Any further?
And
Okay.
it really is just a formality. It's something we do every year.
Make a motion to remove and destroy whatever it is you want to do so we can,
2008.
yeah, get rid of 2008. How's that?
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Who was the second?
I was.
Thank you.
Moves us to agenda setting. Mr. DeVito, you're top of the list.
Nothing.
Mr. McClung?
0.
Mr. Mitchell?
0.
Mr. Perkypile?
I don't have anything at the time.
Mr. Snyder?
No, I won't be here next week.
Ms. Zeller?
I'm thinking that maybe we should revisit this weekly rental thing again and have planning. Maybe Beverly can give us a history on that, because I know it came up in the last session of the city council, and it somehow or other fell through the cracks. And it seems to me, after talking to Beverly about this and some other concerned people, that there are some people that are worried about the degradation of the R1 neighborhoods if we allow weekly rentals. And I think it just needs to be discussed again, and I'd like Ms. Blankenship to give us a history on this.
Second.
And what happened.
Okay, it's on the agenda. No further. Mrs. Council comments. Mr. McClung, or Mr. DeVito, you're top.
No comment.
Mr. McClung?
No.
Mr. Mitchell?
No.
Mr. Perkypile?
None.
Mr. Snyder?
Since they're all scurrying because they want to be out of here within 20 minutes, I'm just going to have to take a while.
Please don't.
I just want to say, cross fingers, toes, pray, send white healing light, whatever it is you do, that Korea does not push the damn button until at least Saturday, since my Marine son is retiring after 20 long years in the Marine Corps on Friday. That's it.
Ms. Ellen?
I don't have anything.
Okay, I have a list of events and I only have one comment under mine, so I'll lead the events first. April the 8th through the 10th will be the charrette, which is a couple of day discussion and event, apparently for the discussion of the old school property, the old high school property. April the 12th through the 14th is UFO conference in the Ozarks. April the 13th is the second Saturday gallery stroll. April 13th is Survivors Getting Stronger Writers Workshop at the Writers Colony. April the 19th through the 20th is the carving in the Ozarks behind the Cornerstone Bank in McDonald's. April the 19th through the 20th is Springtime in the Ozarks. April 21st, Preservation Society 5th Annual Tea. And I hope I'm not too premature on this one, but by your next council meeting, you should have some preliminary plans for a little packet that we'll put together for you on the progress of the North Main bathrooms. I think it goes to planning tomorrow night with Mr. Berry, and I'll be there also to see what the progress is going to be. So maybe by then, if not, it will definitely be by the next one, because after we get it approved by then, we'll have to work up the bid packages and go from there. That's all I have. Unless anybody else has anything else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.